Hey guys, short little vlog here. Something I noticed recently, I was watching one of the few channels that I watch in terms of the tech channels, something called Unbox Therapy, one of the big ones out there, 13 million subscribers, and he's Canadian, he's from Toronto, Canada. Anyhow, he mentioned that he had moved over from Mac after a decade to Windows, and he's not going back. And I found that interesting because I've seen other top YouTubers, not as big as him, but popular YouTubers say a similar thing. They're moving over to Windows from Mac for a variety of reasons, one of which is cost. You can get very capable laptops and Windows machines for significantly less than the Mac equivalent. I'm not going to get into the debates, but that's their perception from all these top people. Another reason why people are leaving Mac and starting to move over to Windows, because Windows has just gotten much better. Windows 10 is much better. When I first got this Surface Pro, this is a 2016 model, and I use Surface Pro, I use Windows, and I use Mac. I use Mac most of the time because I'm just answering emails, doing some editing and so on, and I like Mac OS. But and I got the MacBook Pro 2016 with the new super slim keyboard. So another reason people are starting to move to Windows is because they don't like the Mac keyboard. They don't like the fact that the new MacBook Pro has only USB-C. They've ignored the old USB ports and SD card ports and et cetera, et cetera. See, when you're a professional, especially if you're a content creator, you want to have these ports. You don't want to have to carry dongles and stuff. It's just a bit of a pain. It's not a huge issue. It doesn't bother me so much. I at first I thought about it, but whatever. It's not been an issue for me. But for a lot of people, it is. Fair enough. And another reason why people are looking at Windows is because with the latest MacBook Pros, for instance, people are saying that you shouldn't bother speccing them up to the most powerful Intel processors because the bodies, the MacBook Pro's bodies are so thin they can't properly cool the CPUs. Again, a problem. So what's the point, right? You can't get the full power of the CPUs. No point buying it because they went for ultra thin. The big problem I see with Apple is they're starting to favor form over function. To me, that's a big mistake. They did it with their Mac Pros, which is their old trash can desktop computers. Pretty good to look at, but again, non-expandable. Apparently there's cooling problems. I never used one, so I don't know. The rumor has it that with this summer, they're going to come out with new MacBook Pros and new Mac Pros, which is the desktop computer, that are going to address these issues. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's curious to me how people are starting to move over from Apple into Windows. And 6-7 years ago, the hipsters would never have said this. Now the hipsters are thinking about moving over to Windows, or they have moved over to Windows. So when you have a big guy like this Unbox Therapy guy saying, "Hey, I'm on the XT1 Carbon, some Lenovo-based laptop that's famous for the keyboards, by the way. The Lenovo, they have these crazy great keyboards, and they're a lot cheaper, and they have all the ports, etc., etc., etc." So I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. But perhaps Apple better address this pretty soon, because when you see more and more hipster nerds and influencers, guys with 13 million subs, are starting to move off of Mac and into Windows, that's going to be a problem. Also, when you think about Apple with regards to the iPhones, Apple still makes a ton of money, but from what people are telling me, even iPhone people are telling me, the new Huawei is like a much better looking phone, much more capable phone. You get phones out there that are almost as good or better than the iPhones, and they're cheaper. This is an issue. I remember the first, maybe up to the fifth iPhone 5, maybe iPhone 6. iPhone was always a step ahead of the competition, especially in the early days. But these days, whether it be Pixel, whether it be the Huawei phones, whether it be the Samsung, of course, they're pulling ahead of Apple. And Apple charges a premium. Now, some people would like iOS over Android OS, whatever. That's a personal choice again. But I think that the capabilities of the platforms, in my opinion, whether it be Windows, whether it be Mac OS, whether it be Android, whether it be iOS, they're very much neck and neck. So if you're asking that question to yourself, should I get an Apple or should I get a Windows machine? You got a lot more choice with Windows machines. You got a lot more choice. There's pros and cons to every platform. I use Mac OS most of the time, and I have an iPad as well. But I'm telling you, this Windows machine, even though this is a 3-year-old machine, is still very, 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 very functional. And I have to say one thing. One of the big advantages that Windows has over Mac OS is its windowing features, its ability to handle windows and move windows around and set up tiles and stuff. It's far, far superior to what Mac OS can do. On the other hand, Mac OS has certain things that it's far superior to Windows. And in my day-to-day work, I tend to use just the Apple. But that might change as well. Because I have a 2016 MacBook Pro. And when I'm shooting raw footage with my camera here, I can do it. I can edit it on my MacBook Pro. It can edit it. But, I have to be very careful what I do in terms of my processing. If I wanted to denoise the video or do any types of reasonable processing, the whole thing tanks. So I might be looking at getting a new computer this summer, strictly for the editing. I might get a desktop, in fact, because for writing out emails, this is fine. My MacBook Pro is fine for sending emails, receiving emails, writing code, running virtual machines. Again, I'll end with this. I think I put my finger to the air and I see a movement. And I see a movement towards Windows. And so we'll see what happens there. If you're trying to decide which operating system to use, if you're budget conscious, you probably want to go with Windows. If you're not so budget conscious, go with Mac. You're going to have a very stable environment typically. Mac OS I really like, but the hardware, they've made some form over function choices, which I don't like. They should have considered function as they built the aesthetics of their machines. And again, the rumors have it that the machines coming out this summer, both the laptops and a desktop, the Pro desktop, are recognizing the functional deficiencies that the lineup currently has. That's the rumors. We'll see what happens. Anyway, so there you have it. This is the beginning of a series of new vlogs I'm going to be putting out, talking about various subjects that I think the audience, you guys, will want to hear. Just a little conversation, man. A little conversation. Let me know if you like this type of video or not, and comment below. That's it. If you want to learn web stack faster than you could possibly imagine and more easily, check out my interactive course below. If you want to learn freelancing, links below. You want to learn entrepreneurship, links below. I got to shamelessly plug, right? That's what you do in business. All right, bye-bye.